Well, hello and welcome to the Ohio High School Athletic Association online local meeting. My name is Chris Worm, and uh, here to present our meeting tonight on active shooting and verticality. And I've got some help from a couple Central Ohio Basketball Officials Association members, Brian Spangler and Kurt Schooley. I'm sorry, is that Schooley?
It is.
We're gonna have to restart this again. Sorry, I don't know why I said that.
Sorry.
So we're gonna start over.
Go ahead. I got the minute mark. Go ahead.
All right. Welcome everybody to the Ohio High School Athletic Association online local meeting. My name is Chris Worm. I'm here with Brian Spangler and Kurt Schooley, and we're here to discuss active shooting and verticality. And let me give an introduction to the gentleman here. Brian Spangler is 44 years in basketball officiating. He is a past COBA president. He's our current COBA mechanics interpreter, and he has 10 state tournaments under his belt. And Kurt is a 20-year official. He is our current COBA rules interpreter, and he's got multiple regional and state tournaments under his belt. My name is Chris, 10 years officiating, and I am the current COBA Education and Training Committee Chair. And I'm excited to get this discussion, and we're going to get it going on. So first, I'm going to hand it off to Brian and Kurt and let them go over active shooting and verticality, and we have some video. So without further ado.
Chris, thanks for the introduction.
Appreciate it, Chris. As you can see here on the slide, active shooting, talk about some time frames and during when it starts and when it ends. Obviously it begins at the start of the try or tap for field goal, and the try starts when the player begins the motion to release the ball, and then it ends when the ball is clearly in flight and includes the airborne shooter. Then after that, obviously you talk about the airborne shooter, and that's any player who has released the ball on a try or tap for goal and who has tapped the ball and has not yet returned to the floor. Let's get into a play here to help illustrate verticality and pass and crash. So blue driving down the floor, crash happens just inside the paint, just inside the block, and our lead comes up with a whistle.
I'm gonna go back and start it again. We're gonna look at that, and I'll let it run through, and we'll go back again.
A few thoughts about this play. So we have, just slowing down here for you. So we have a pass, we have a crash. We have multiple officials that need to be involved with this play, right? So the lead has the crash. The center is going to have the person that is passed the ball and then takes the shot. Whether the call is a block or a charge, that's not gonna change this fact. One of the things that we need to do, and maybe it was done here, but we can't see it because the play cuts off here, is we need to communicate as officials on the floor. Let the person know that made the call, the lead, that even though the basket was made, one of the first things that we're going to need to do is talk about whether that basket counts or not. Chris, can you run that play back again?
Yep.
Yeah, while he's doing that, Kurt, let me just jump in here and mention the fact this is something you just must definitely cover in your pregame conference as you get to the school. You talk about the pass and the crash, who has the ball and who has the person that has passed the ball if it goes to one of the corners. And the other thing too is if we have a pretty good crash here that we don't want to signal a block or charge and then run away from the players. Let's just stay right there around that crash where we can make sure that we continue to officiate the play after it's over.
So the lead signals block here, and that's going to be White's 8th foul as well. So hopefully we're being a good partner as trail, letting the lead know that I've got your shooter. We're going to be going to the line and shooting 1-on-1.
All right, we want to go on to the next one?
Absolutely.
That'd be great, Chris.
All right, here we go.
All right, so we have a shot from the corner by White. Center official does a great job staying with the shooter. But let's see it from another angle. And it's going to show it from the side here. Shot is taken. Shooter returns to the floor and gets barreled over. Now, that's a little bit slowed down. Ryan, what are your thoughts on is this person still considered an airborne shooter? And should this be an additional shot, or should this be ball out of bounds on the side?
Yeah, I think we're still in the act of shooting here. As a center official, you always have to work to get the angle to make sure that the shooter was actually fouled and did not take a flop or a fall. But as a center official here refereeing this play, you can see that the mechanics are clear that he stays on the shooter. We have to referee the play until the shooter comes back to the ground, and I think he did. So I think this would be an and one if the ball goes through the hoop.
Agree, and I think the other thing to think about here, and like I said, it shows it in slowed down time. So obviously it looks like he's down there really longer than he probably is in real life. By not saying that as part of the shooting motion, we're also penalizing the defense twice, right? We're not only going to count the basket, we're also going to give him the ball out of bounds and give him another possession, as opposed to just sending the shooter to the line for one additional shot.
All right, Chris, we're going to the next play.
So this is a very interesting play with a lot going on. Red's bringing the ball down the floor. Our trail is behind the play. The play comes across the floor, and there's contact. If you would stop it there, Chris, there's contact. But I think between the initial defender and the offensive player, it's very minimal contact. I think our defense is trying to buy us a foul here. The center official has to obviously take his eyes to the corner shooter, because that's him all on his own. And so he does not see what happens next, which is after the red player takes what I think looks like a dive to me, he then takes out White. Sorry, Tyler, I have to mark that. I started to say the wrong thing.
Got it.
So this is a really interesting play here, because red drives to the lane and White takes very minimal contact but goes to the ground. Center official does a good job here, stays with the shooter, but obviously he does not see White, who took a dive, then roll into red legs, and now we have two players on the floor and we don't have a whistle. I think we do need a whistle on this play, and I think it needs to come from our lead official, because our center has no chance on this play of seeing all of that happening. The other thing to consider here is I believe that the red shooter's motion has started. So if this play had gone differently and that ball had gone in the basket, I think we would be counting that shot. And so our lead and center official will need to come together and talk about that to put the timeline together of when that contact happened and was the shot off before that or not. I don't feel like this is a play where we can avoid that second contact where the defender rolls into the other offensive player's legs and takes him to the ground.
Yeah, we have to have communication amongst the crew to decide. Again, we have a no call here, so we certainly wouldn't be coming together talking about this play during the game, but during the continuation of the play. But if we had had a foul on this, we definitely need to come together and figure out whether the shot's off and communicate with each other if we need help.
And I think even though the drive comes up the trail side, I don't think the trail has a very good look at this play to help judge whether that defender was established legal guard position, and then also whether the offensive player went through them or stopped with contact before going through them, which is, I think, what happened here.
Okay, Chris, you want to jump to the next play?
Okay, so this is end of a period situation. I think it's end of the second period. Not the most stellar angle here, and the other thing about this play is we don't have a horn and we don't have a red light. So all we're trying to talk about here is staying with the shooter, trying to judge, did they get hit or not? From the angle that we're seeing in the film, it does look like potentially shooter's arm is chopped down. And obviously with the high school mechanics, that official opposite the table is going to have that. If they're trailing the play quite a bit, you could have lead helping out here and getting a peek at this play, because the only thing that matters is that ball handler and the shot when we've got the clock winding down. Chris, could you play that one more time?
Yeah, Kurt, just a couple of comments I have about this particular play is you can see maybe the crew is a little bit distracted because we find ourselves out of position with the mechanics. We have, in essence, two leads and a trail. So we have the official on this side of the court, obviously out in front of the play, and then we also have the official on the far side of the court, also out in front of the play. And we're maybe a little distracted, but we have to concentrate here. The other thing is we got to remember that we can't fade away just because it's the end of the quarter. We have to referee to 0-0, whether it's the first quarter or in overtime. So we need to stay on the play and make sure that we determine whether we have a foul or not a foul, shooting foul, non-shooting foul, and if it's a legitimate try, all the way down to 0-0s.
Yeah, if you can see that he's signaling to the lead is signaling to the center who has thought he was the lead that to get back up. So he's clearly out of the play, the center. So it doesn't matter. I mean, he's just not involved. So it's a two-man officialing game right here. Just luckily that the right person made the call, right or wrong, opposite the table trail. That's his call.
And if you look, Chris, even at the lead, he's trying to get the attention of the center official, so he's not going to really be of help either here on this play. So we really only got one set of eyes on this play from the new trail.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back and you see what that lead is doing and how he takes his eyes off what's going on, or his attention. Maybe he kept his eyes there, but still distracted.
Let's jump to the next one.
I will be talking about some block charges. I did a clinic before a scrimmage I had just the other day, talking a little bit about block charges. And with block charges, we talked about legal guarding positions. Going back to our first PowerPoint slide, what determines what a legal guarding position is, and what the defender has to be in a legal guarding position for the block charge. So we're going to go through some plays here and make some comments on those.
Okay, so if you could run that back. So White drives the lane, help side defender comes over. Center comes up immediately, stops the clock, but immediately comes out and says he's got a player control foul. Lead has a whistle as well. Again, this play starts on C side, comes down C side, and really probably finishes on C side of the basket. So our center official is absolutely the right to have a whistle. But we do have a double whistle here, and hopefully we make sure that we're communicating that fact and recognizing that we have a second whistle. I know we always want our outside official to post and hold for a second. If we do recognize that we do have a double whistle, and I don't think our center recognized that our lead also had a whistle on this play.
And this is a pretty easy call to make, I think. The lead official might have a secondary defender that's jumping over there, but I'm not sure that the center official has to signal the other direction this quickly. It's like you said, Kurt, as a trail and a center, we want to lock and hold out there. We all know that we have a foul, and then the correct official makes the correct call. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation.
All right, so we have play in transition. Looks like probably minimal contact here. And also, if you could run that back, let's look at how the offensive player looks like he somewhat changes direction to try and avoid the defender. And the defender actually falls in a direction that's opposite from the direction the offensive player is going. He actually falls kind of underneath the basket, towards the basket at an angle. So I think we have the correct call here. Again, from center official.
Kurt, I agree. Great mechanics, good positioning. We got the call right here with this one. We have like a little bit of a grazing blow, and I think the defender is trying to take a charge here. He just didn't get it because the offensive player was athletic enough to move sideways instead of running over him. So again, I think it was a good call, good mechanics, and the correct official made the correct call.
All right, next play. All right, so we have pass from the top of the key. Defender trying to go over, doesn't really ever appear to establish legal guard position in front of the white player. I think pretty easy block call, and it comes from the right official.
Totally agree here. I think, again, great positioning, great mechanics. We should be entirely refereeing the defensive players here. And we see that he is still moving to his left to try to get in front of the offensive player to take that charge. I think he gets there late, and I think the correct call was made. Who would help, Kurt? Just kind of a thought process. Who would help with determining whether the ball went through the hoop or not? Because as an elite official, now you've got the block charge. You might not know if the ball goes through or not. You could take a peek up there if you want, but we have to make sure that the trio continues down then and make sure that the official know that the ball goes through the hoop. And then it's the determination of the lead official to either count it or not count it. But again, good mechanics here.
Yeah, Brian. I think you actually, if you see the trail here, he actually communicates non-verbally by counting the bucket here. But you're right, absolutely. The trail official needs to communicate to the lead before he's going to the table that, hey, that ball went through the basket, and let the lead determine if I was calling that a shooting foul or not, which he correctly did.
Right, and I think, as a trail official, we can get together as we're passing and say it verbally, because if for some reason I'm decided I need to wave the basket off and you're the trail, Kurt, and you're signaling good, it could create some concern with coaches. So make sure it's a verbal thing and not a signal like that.
Absolutely.
Next play, Chris.
All right, a little bit to unpack on this play. We have a drive from the kind of the high wing area, and then contact right below the elbow on the lane line between the lead and the trail. We do have 3 whistles on this play. The center official pretty quickly drops his arm. And then we have a little bit of communication between the lead and the trail official about who's going to take this whistle. Ideally, I'd like to see this happen a little bit quicker, and the primary official take that play and say, I've got it. Or if we've had a situation where that official needs to get up that whistle, maybe they've had a few whistles in a row, and they need their partner to take it and say, you've got it right away. So that lag there just creates kind of indecisiveness, right, for the coaches and the fans. That looks like we don't know what we're doing. Even if we do, and even if we get the call right, that indecisiveness can lead to some problems for us.
Absolutely correct. We're a little bit of a transition here, kind of moving the ball up the court really pretty quickly. The lead has those defensive players back in the lane line, the key, and he does a good job of coming out and working with the trail official to confirm that the call was, in essence, a charge. And I think they got this one right. As far as the center official, table side, just go ahead. You can acknowledge the fact you got the foul with the arm up. You don't need to drop it so quickly, but either way, it works. So I think they got this right and good mechanics. Okay, Chris, next play.
All right, so a little bit of transition play here. A couple of thoughts. One, with a one-on-one dribbler matchup, I'd like to see our center maybe actually get up the floor a little bit sooner and let our new trail handle this play. We're now leaving our lead official with 7 players in the front court to try and keep their eyes on this play. Also, as trail official coming up the floor, once that play starts to go away from you, look for ways to get a little bit closer to the play. Does a really good job of closing down after the whistle to get closer to the play, but I think could have been a little bit of slightly closed down, more closed position before this contact happens, and sends it the other way.
Agree with you. All your comments there, Kurt. Good job. I think the officials got this one right as well. We've got some pretty aggressive defense being played there, and I don't think the feet were set. I think they were sliding, and it was clearly a block, I believe.
I want to play it one more time. This is a transition. I think that center needs to really get down farther. He's way behind the play, and trust his new trail to take this matchup. That's clearly all should be him. He should be worried about the 2 or 3, 4 guys that are just crossing midcourt right now.
I agree. We talk about competitive matchups. I'm not sure we need 2 sets of eyes on one competitive matchup. So we definitely we should be protecting maybe the over and back line here as a center official.
Yep.
Next play. So we have a pass into the post and the lead just coming over. So nobody else has even really rotated yet, but the lead has just crossed over the near lane line. I think, again, looking at the play, I think we got the call right. It is very close, but he sees the entire play. If you could play this through, Chris. Again, not the greatest angle to try and to judge with those bodies and feet, where people are and if they're in legal guarding position before that contact happens, and also how much the offense goes through the person as opposed to stopping with contact. Not the greatest angle to try and judge that from, but I think if he had gotten over a little bit sooner, might be in a better spot to judge on this play because he is still trailing the play a little bit as he comes over?
Yeah, I agree with you. He does a good job of refereeing the defense. So when his defender comes over, he comes over, he works his way across the baseline. I think that the call was made correctly. I think it was definitely a charge. The only comment I might make here, Kurt, is just slow down the signals a little bit. We go from just a hand up to a point in the other direction. So slow the signals down so everybody knows what you have.
Agree. Good point. Okay, so we have a pass to the corner, beats his man off the dribble, help side defender comes over, and we have a player control foul.
I think the perfect mechanics, good positioning, maybe a little bit more off the floor here, but I think the signal was outstanding. And we're refereeing the defense, right? So we see him clearly set before the offensive player leaves the floor. I think it's a really pretty easy to call and make because we were in the right position and we're looking at the right thing.
Absolutely. And see the hand behind the head and the point.
One thing I would probably do, though, is I would probably stay a little longer. He started walking away a little too soon. Stay with those players. Make sure everything's okay or there's no extracurriculars.
Yeah, especially if they get tangled up.
Yeah, because he does go pretty quickly up to the tail. Let's go in real time here.
The center could come in a little bit too and help that situation. Make sure his presence is known down there when the bodies are on the floor. We can pinch in a little bit as a center official here.
Absolutely. Let's hop to the next one.
Well, that'll do, though. We have another block charge here. And
so this is a difficult play for our center official. Again, we've only got one clip, so I don't know exactly how much an opportunity the lead would have had to get over there to help our center official. But we have a drive, we have a pass to the corner, we have another drive, and it's all on the center official. We've got a help side defender. And so we end up having a lead having to come and call across the lane. You can run that play again.
You're absolutely right, Kurt. But when we have a collision like that, we have to make a call, right? So we want the right call. We want the right official making the right call always. But a lot of times, if that's not the situation, at least we got the call right by a secondary official here. So definitely, we have bodies on the floor. We need to make some kind of a call, unless it's incidental contact.
Absolutely. And on this play, it being a secondary defender, that makes it even harder for that center official to know whether that person was there, had established a good guarding position. So if our lead had had an opportunity earlier in the play to get over, it makes that play easier to officiate. Again, as Brian said, we got a whistle. Looks like we got the right call. But let's rewind that and see if we could have been in a better position mechanically to judge on this play.
I'd also like to point out that the center, he doesn't really move. He's not moving to gain a good angle or an advantage for himself. He kind of just what we call lighthousing, and we just kind of turns. So doesn't really help himself.
Absolutely, it's a good point, Chris. You'll notice no players really in real close proximity to him. He could definitely take a couple steps out onto the floor here or at an angle towards the play and might get a better look at that collision near the baseline. Our next play.
Okay, Chris, next play.
We'll move on to some verticality here. I know we've had some already, but there we go.
Yeah, so verticality, obviously, we're talking about the legal position on the floor, right? The defender can jump vertically. Their hands and arms can be raised within that vertical plane. They can be on the floor or in the air. But we don't want our defender to belly up, right? So using their lower part of the body, maybe another word for that would be like a hip check. And the offensive player cannot clear out or cause contact within that defender's vertical plane. So remember, let's not penalize the offense when they initiate contact on a legal defender. So drive down the middle of the lane, white help side defender comes over, jumps straight in the air, raises arms straight in the air. Offensive player, any contact there that causes the offensive player to go to the ground is their responsibility. You will note our center official giving what we would not consider an approved mechanic for high school, so don't try and mimic that. But we did officiate this play very well.
Yeah, that's just great defense there, and you can't penalize a defense for a good defensive play just because maybe an offensive player hits the ground. That's good defense. Officials definitely got it called right.
Similar play. Again, help side defender. And here, the help side defender, they go from A to B, but they go from A to B backwards, right? So they jump straight up in the air, position A. Any contact that moves them to another spot is again, it's caused by the offense, lands straight backwards. Even though the offensive player goes to the ground hard, I think part of that's a relationship to maybe the disparity in size of the two players here. But again, no call is the correct call here. Don't penalize that defensive player for going straight up in the air. Here, the offense is even fortunate enough the ball goes through the basket still.
Yeah, good defense there.
Again, ignore the signal of the lead putting his hands up. Not approved.
All right, so this play is a little bit different here. Help side defender again. Take a look at where he leaves the ground from and where the contact occurs with the offensive player. You'll see he jumps from basically 1 foot on each side of the block, and then the contact occurs here kind of at the top of the circle that they have inside the lane. So here the offensive or the defensive player is jumping in the direction of the offense, and the contact causes the offensive player to go to the ground. Here I would be okay with a foul here on the defense and send the guy to the line.
Slow it down here, and you can see where his A and then B. So he's initiating the contact and not jumping straight up.
Who's got the best angle to see this play, you think, guys? I know the trio has the offensive player, but oftentimes the center official, if the play's coming right at them, sometimes, a lot of times, the key opens up, and he has sometimes the best angle. And so don't be afraid to step down there if that play is coming right at you, and you've got an open window to see that, to come in and make that call.
Well, he's not moving because he's got number one blocking his view, or is that number one us? But he's got a player blocking his view. So, yeah, the lead can definitely help with this as well. But center should probably close in here and get a good view, good point.
The other thing to note on that play, Chris, if you'd pause it there, is even though the offensive player has their off arm kind of in a bent position to ward him off, he does not extend it to cause the contact. He's okay to have that arm there to ward off as long as he doesn't extend it in through the defensive player's chest. He's fine, which I don't think he does here. Okay, go back on that play. So drive comes around the top of the 3-point line, down the lane line between the lead and the trail. Perfect. Stopping it right there. Between the lead and the trail. And our center comes up with the whistle on this play. Center hopefully is not the person that needs to be watching this play. This play comes down the trails lane line, finishes right at the block in front of the lead. We need to trust our partners on this play. Look at the defender too on this play. I know it's not the greatest angle to judge on the contact, but it looks like the defender is retreating the entire way. And any contact that is here is between the offensive player and a legal defender.
Yeah, I made reference to it earlier in the presentation when we talk about the win-win situations where we want the correct official making the correct call, which is nothing more than officiating your primary area and making your calls correct. I think this situation we have maybe the incorrect official making an incorrect call, maybe out of position a little bit. So that's what we're trying to do. Let the primary officials officiate in the primary areas. And I think the two that were responsible for this particular play maybe passed on it, thought it was good defense, which I don't think is maybe incorrect. I think it was it should have been maybe a good no call. But we came in and got it, and therefore, the center coming across the court, maybe the wrong official making the wrong call, which sometimes gets us in trouble.
Hey, Brian, good point. I really was going with a no call on there. I think we can get away with nothing and just keep the game going. Because the offense made a good play. He made the bucket, but yet defense held his ground and really no crash.
Correct.
Contact, but no crash.
We talk about game disruptors. That might be one of them.
How about the next play, Chris? So I think similar here. We have White defender gets in guarding position, but then kind of returns their hips, but is retreating the entire way. Does not initiate any contact with the offensive player, even though the offensive player goes to the ground here. I think we correctly rule here that we've got no foul, no call. Again, pay no attention to our center official given the verticality signal here. But again, don't penalize the defense if they're just retreating on this play.
You're absolutely right, because a lot of times when we have player height mismatched, where you have a shorter player trying to attack the basket against a larger, taller defender, a lot of times the offensive player will try to create contact and draw the foul. And we have to do a good job of officiating the defense, allow them to play defense without penalizing them for the offensive player trying to create contact if they are mismatched.
All right, next one, Chris. Okay, I think pretty similar here to some of the other plays we've already seen. 23 for Michigan, retreating. Tennessee player leans in, tries to draw the contact, and gets the call. And I think probably incorrectly here. I think I'd rather see a no call on this play.
Yeah, Tennessee player does generate the contact, and the defender's holding his ground. Verticality.
If you go back on that play there, Chris. All right, it's kind of similar to what Brian was just talking about. You know, bigger defender, taller defender, trying to draw contact. Defender does nothing really that initiates it. And again, I think we correctly call this a no call and play on.
Yes, we can't penalize good defense. Good no call.
Next one.
I'm going to move up ahead. There's a couple of these that I don't think really, yeah. And there we go.
Again, take a look at the defender. Straight up, offensive players trying to kind of curl around them. Brian, do you have anything the defender do anything wrong on this play?
I kind of do. If you look, if you go back a little bit, she's trying to get the right leg out and try to ride them out of the key there. You see her just kind of right there early on. Maybe the call should have been made a little bit quicker, but I think I see the right knee trying to catch the offensive player as they're trying to make their move to the basket. We'll take a look at this one more time.
She definitely moves into her there. I would agree, Brian.
Yeah, not sure if it's enough for a foul call or not, but I think the referee got it right. I mean, we have the correct official making maybe the correct call there.
Agree. And the thing with, you know, any clip that we look at like this, we don't have any kind of context of what's been going on in this game, right? So that can obviously impact whether we put a whistle on a play or not.
Absolutely correct.
I think we want to look at there as the screener down low.
So this is actually play there. I think the scoreboard showed that we were, you know, just seconds left in the game here.
9 seconds tie ball game. So
Red inbounding. Center official comes across and has an illegal screen against the defender that's chasing the person that's going to get the ball passed to them.
Good call by the official. They're looking right where they need to be. I mean, you've got like what, 8 players down there, and again, we're watching for illegal screens and you know, holds on the defense. So we got a good set of eyes looking at the play, and I think we make the correct call here.
And I think kind of what we talked about in the play earlier, if we've got all 10 players on the opposite side of the floor from us, from center official, that gives us an opportunity to step or two out off that sideline, get a little bit closer to the play and get more engaged and involved with the play and not leave the 10 players to the other 2 officials. All right, next one.
Yep, Chris, next play.
You should do that again, Chris. So beats off the dribble. Secondary defender comes over. The lead has a block.
tell me what the defense did wrong.
I'm not sure I have a response to that, Chris. They look like they were going to maybe turned away because I knew they were going to get run over. But we talked about, you know, they were in obviously a legal guarding position here. So I'm not sure what we saw here as a lead official.
I would agree, Brian. I think, again, like you said, the defensive player might have an opportunity here to wince or kind of turn a shoulder to accept a blow because they see it coming and they know it's going to come. Don't penalize that. Don't get too nitpicky on that. But again, I think he's legal. He's there. His arms are straight up in the air. Again, don't penalize good defense here.
And as a lead official, that's exactly who we should be looking at, right? We're refereeing the defense. So that's who we should be not staring at, but paying quite a bit of attention to, because with the game winding down to the end, that they're going to attack the basket some capacity.
Next play. Again, ball handler gets beat here. We have a secondary defender coming over to try and help. Could you run that back again, Chris? Now, play starts above the key, above the three-point line. Comes down pretty much down the middle of the lane, maybe on center side is where the contact ends up happening, but it's pretty close down the middle of the lane. But the secondary defender definitely comes from center's side of the floor, right? So they've got the best idea on if that defender is there in time and have they established legal guard position.
And if there's enough contact to warrant a charge or a block.
Center does a good job here. We talked about it earlier. We've got a double whistle. You'll notice the center official does post. Their body language does take, they take a step or two towards the division line, which in my mind tells me he's got the same call. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But the lead official comes up right away, calls player control, and we go on.
I also want you to watch the lead official here. Mechanics wise, he doesn't stop the clock, so he doesn't. So he's already going with the charge, and we have a double whistle, so we have really a potential of having a large here. You watch him; he doesn't stop the clock at all. Play it again.
Let's see that one again, Chris. Again, help side.
Again, I'm wondering what the defender did wrong here.
Again, Chris, I think we got a help side secondary defender here. Seems to be a legal guard position. A little bit of contact. Offense tries to kind of avoid it, so it's kind of more of a glancing blow even. But again, I think we're kind of penalizing the defense here.
I would agree.
All right, so
the lead and the center do a great job of looking at each other to make sure that they're not going to have different calls. So the mechanics getting down the floor is impeccable. Good position, good mechanics.
again, play comes down the center side of the floor. Center hustles down. He's in good position, like Ryan said. Very tight call. You just have to rule on if that defender established legal guarding position. They ruled that he did. Center comes up with a player control foul. Again, I'm guessing here, but looking at the lead, he starts to lean towards the division line again, which makes me think he has the same call.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they had the same call. It doesn't matter. The lead did a good job of just kind of locking and holding and letting the center continue with the foul call.
And as soon as that signal is made by the center, I think the lead should go run over there to those players on the ground, make sure that everything's okay and nothing nasty happens after that.
Definitely make sure that your presence is known over there. Yes.
Yep. I think that's our videos. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening to our online Ohio High School Athletic Association local meeting. And if everybody stays safe and has a productive and adventurous season. Thank you very much.
Appreciate everybody's attention for the time that we were on the call here, and stay safe and have good games.
Thanks, everybody, and thank you, Chris, for helping us put everything together.
Nice work, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Made it easy on me.